Hello, hello, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Heartbreak Hill podcast, where we are training you for the marathon of life. Okay, we believe that we are breaking hearts and blowing minds one conversation at a time. And now there's just certain things in this world that you won't know or learn or maybe begin to understand until you have embraced the brokenness of your heart, whether that be your heart, your spirit, your mind, your body, whatever parts of you that are broken. We believe here at Heartbreak Hill Podcast that we can give you knowledge and wisdom and understanding on how to turn those painful experiences into something positive. Okay. Now, that's something that I'm supposed to be saying at the beginning of every episode, and I'm going to work on that moving forward. But overall, thank you so much for being in attendance with us today. We are keeping up with our preseason kickoff event, okay? And if you're just now joining us, so for the last few episodes, actually, all of the episodes for this preseason launch here, we have been um, picking a woman from the Bible and exhibiting her story and kind of sharing what it is that we can learn from her story, what it is that we can learn about these women that sometimes go unnoticed or untalked about in the Bible. Specifically, last week we talked about, or was it last week, a few days ago, the last episode, we spoke about the story of Leah. Okay. Now, if you didn't tune in last week, I strongly encourage you to go back to the last episode. No, no, I keep saying last week because we're not on that schedule anymore. Go back to the last episode and check out the story of Leah. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because Rachel and Leah's story are very, very, very closely knitted. Okay. Now, I happen to be one of those people. I hate it when I go into a church for the first time, or maybe I'm listening to a sermon online or something, and the person who's preaching says, well, you all know the story. And then they just keep on with the message. Okay, not all of us know the Bible. Okay, not all of us know every story in the Bible. So I'm encouraging you to please go back to the last episode about Leah and just kind of get some context about this story. Brief overview of this story that I'm getting ready to tell, or Leah's perspective, or what we can learn from Leah, is that there were two daughters, Leah and Rebecca. Jacob wanted to marry Rebecca, got tricked into marrying Leah first. Okay. When he married Leah, he had to actually wait a while before also marrying Rachel. He favored Rachel. Okay. Rachel was way more beautiful than her sister Leah. Okay. Now, the Bible isn't really clear about if that's why he favored her, but the Bible does go out of its way to describe the physical appearance and the difference of physical appearance between between Rebecca and between Leah. Okay. So he ends up loving Rachel a lot more than he loves Leah. Leah keeps getting pregnant, thinking that the more children that she has, Jacob will one day love her. She comes to finally realize that having children will not make him love her more than he loves Rachel. Rachel actually ends up giving her maid servant, and Leah does this too. They give their maid servants to Jacob to sleep with to kind of keep up with each other. After a long while, Rachel finally has a child of her own. And this child that she has by Jacob is Joseph. The same Joseph that we go on to read is thrown into a pit by his brothers, which are Leah's children. Okay, out of jealousy because he is the favorite. Sometimes the Bible refers to Rachel's child, Joseph of many, the coat of many colors. Okay, he becomes very well known for this coat that Jacob gives to him. Anyway, that's kind of the backstory. Goes more into depth in the last episode about Leah. So, what can we learn from Rachel? Rachel was the youngest sister, okay, of Laban, and she was the one that was favored by Jacob. Okay, so what can we learn? I have a few very important things that I think we can learn from Rachel's story. Okay, number one, you have to be more than beautiful to keep a man's attention. We're doing this entire series because it is Women's History Month. And sometimes, as a woman, you don't always get the feminine wisdom that you need growing up. Okay, sometimes your parents are not around. Maybe your mother is not around. Maybe you guys have an estranged relationship. Whatever the case may be, one of the most prominent, mm, messages or lessons that any older woman can teach a younger woman is that you have to be more than physically appealing. Men are physical creatures, don't get me wrong. What they see is what they want. The eyes of a man are never satisfied, and that's literally true because beauty is not something that could really and truly satisfy a man. It will get his attention. So don't think that I'm telling you that you should be out of shape. Being in shape is important because it does something to your confidence level, and it also does something to your self-esteem when you take care of your body. This has nothing to do with how much you weigh or what size. It is the active, actual practice of taking care of your body on a daily basis. Okay, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm not saying that you should not be physically attractive. Do things with your hair that you like. You know, sometimes I get up, wash, and go. Sometimes I wear weave. Sometimes I wear braids. Hey, do what you have to do to be physically appealing, but just know that beauty does not keep a man's attention. It may get it, but it won't keep it. And that's important that you know that because this world will trick you into thinking that being pretty is the end of it, that it just stops at being pretty. How did we learn that from Rachel? We learned that from Rachel because even though Jacob favored Rachel, even though Jacob preferred Rachel to Leah, he still slept with the sister. And had over 6 children, or he had over 5 children by, I think, 6 in total he had by Leah. Okay. So even though Rachel was physically a beautiful, the Bible says that she had a pretty face, pretty form, all of these good things. Jacob still slept with somebody else that was less appealing physically. So all I'm saying is, and there may be reasons for that. Part of it, context tells us that in these days it was actually his duty to sleep with his wife. But still, bringing this into modern days term, beauty is not enough. Number two, your boy children will also emulate or imitate you just as much as if you were to have a girl child. Okay? Let me explain this a little bit further. As a mother, maybe you are a single mother, maybe you're not single. Maybe you are single, but you have a village to help you raise your boy child. I need you to know that the things that you teach or don't teach your son will cause him either happiness or heartache in the future. Okay? How did we learn this from Rachel? Because Rachel was the favorite of Jacob. She was the favorite wife. She acted as such. Now, because she was the wife, there really couldn't be much done to her for acting like the favorite. Okay, I can imagine, and the Bible doesn't really go into detail about what day to day life was like, but based on the dialogue between Leah and Rachel, almost daily, Rachel flaunted in Leah's face that she was the favorite. Now, nothing happened to Rachel by doing this, meaning there was no real consequence of her flaunting her favor around Leah. Okay, there was nobody there to tell her to stop doing that. Everybody pretty much in within context of where they were knew that she was the favorite. But here's what ends up happening, and why flaunting your favor, and why your boy children will also emulate the things that you do. She grows and they stay married, and Rachel has a son named Joseph. Joseph acts this exact same way, meaning that because his mother is the favorite of the husband, the son is also the favorite. Okay, now later on in life, yes, Rachel does have another son called Benjamin, but just walk with me for a second. The first child that she has by Jacob, name is Joseph. Joseph grows up to be the favorite of Jacob, and he takes that favor, and he uses it to flaunt in his brother's face. Do you know how I know that that's true? If you read in the story, and I encourage everybody to read this story for themselves, don't just take what I'm saying and go with it. Don't just take what I'm saying. In the story in Genesis, when you read about the story of Joseph, okay, it talks about how Jacob sent him into the fields to go check on his brothers. As Jacob is on his way to go check on his brothers, he grabs the coat of many colors. Now, this is a special, significant, very flamboyant, beautiful coat that was made for him by his father. Now, his brothers don't have this coat, but yet Joseph feels the need to put on this coat when he goes to talk to his brothers, when he goes to check on his brothers. That to me is a sign that Joseph was also flaunting his favor like he seen his mother Rachel do. Now that cost Joseph. It cost Joseph a lot of years, I believe almost 30 years of his life, because that type of behavior in a man got him sold into slavery. Now, I don't know if there are other instances in the Bible where a woman is using her favor to flaunt, but I can tell you for sure, as the mother of a boy child, if any of you have boy children, or if you have, little brothers, or if you have nephews or little cousins that may look up to you, be careful with the things that they see you do. Because even though you're a woman, boys still imitate the things that you do, especially when it comes to relationships with other people. That's really the like top thing that I see boys imitate their mothers in, especially if they grow up like with a single parent. How you act in relationship to other people, and I'm not just talking about romance, how you act with your friends, how you act as a daughter, how you act as a cousin, how you act as a sister, your boy child will emulate these things. So if your child is seeing you flaunt your favor, he more than likely is also going to do that. The danger is his consequence, because he is a male, are going to be much more severe than yours will be. So as a woman, you may not get any consequence besides God humbling you some of flaunting your favor, but your son will, because the world around your child, your boy child, especially if you have a boy child of color, there's not much room in the world for boys to flaunt their favor. So what he sees you do in terms of your relationships, just be careful with that, because he more than likely will imitate you more so than even the men in his life. When it comes to relationships with other people, friendships, romantic, he will watch you and emulate you. So just be mindful of that. That brings me to my next point, number 3. Okay? Be careful with how you treat favor. This is also a reason why comparison does not make any sense. You see, every woman is born with something special. Some of us, and it's not your sex, please. All of us have the same birth canal. What makes sex better or worse, it has nothing to do with the size or the duration of your cervix or anything like that. What makes a woman unique and different is what God has placed inside of her. Okay? Anything else, any sex you think you're giving, any lettuce you think you're giving that's different than the next woman, please. It doesn't set you apart. What sets you apart and what gives you favor is something that God has placed inside of you. Okay. We have a link on our website under the resources tab of heartbreakhealpodcast.com. And in the resources tab, there is a link there for the spiritual gifts test. Okay. Take that test when you get a chance. It's totally free, but it gives you some insight on some of the gifts that God has pardoned on you. Okay. And the reason why it's important for you to know that is because you will have favor because of those gifts. If God gave you the gift of beauty standards for the society that we live in, okay, which changes, by the way, but maybe God made you a certain skin tone. Maybe He gave you a certain grade of hair. Maybe He gave you a certain type of skill or talent. Some of us have the gift of gab. Some of us can do hair really well. Some of us can paint. Some of us can draw. Some of us can act. Some of us can sing. Every woman has something unique to her feminine divinity that God has placed into her. Be careful with how you flaunt that. Okay, you don't want to be one of those girls or one of those women who has favor in a certain area, but that favor be your demise. Okay? We live in a world of beauty standards. So let's say that God gave you a big behind. You dragging a wagon. Let's just say that that's something that you were blessed with, okay? Because according to beauty standards, it's kind of a split. Some men prefer a big bum, some don't. But not needless to say, especially in the black community, having a big backside is somewhat of a privilege to some. Just generalizing there, okay? Not all. If you're using that to, let's say, take other women's boyfriends, or maybe you're using that in way by way of exotic dancing, or using it in a way that is not advancing the kingdom of God. We'll just put it in that type of way, okay? Because I don't want to get down and go down a list of all of the wrong things you can do with a big butt, right? I'm just using this as an example to say, let's say that that's an area that God favored you in. He favored you in the area of your body. If you use that to do mean, evil, wicked, nasty things to people, like take people's boyfriend, or maybe getting it to earn money in a way that makes you not use your other gifts and talents that God has given you. When you use your favor wrong, God takes it away from you. And he did this to Rachel because even though Rachel was the most beautiful of the two, she couldn't please her husband in terms of having a child. Now, we as a society have kind of moved away from women being seen as their self worth of how many children they can have. But even me, myself, at 29, I have people ask me all the time when I'm going to have children, when I'm going to, in that type of sense. So, in a way, we are still stuck in a woman being valuable only if she has children. But back then, in this context, very important. There are actually even stories in ancient Rome where women were killed if they couldn't produce in a certain time frame, or if they couldn't produce boys, for example. Just different things around child bearing. But I'm saying this to say that Rachel, even though she was the most beautiful, she didn't have the favor of giving Jacob his first child. Leah did. And I believe, and it's not in the Bible, so don't mince my words, but I believe that that was part of her humbling experience, okay? When you use your beauty, when you use your favor factor, whatever it is that God has physically given you, because it's something for every woman, whatever he has given you in favor, and you use it to hurt other people, or you use it to cause pain to other people, God will take that thing away from you. As pretty as Rachel was, she could not produce a child for her husband, which was very important, not only to the husband, but to society in those days. So be careful how you flaunt your favor. Okay. That brings me to the next point. God is in control of when you have a baby or when you become pregnant. Okay. Um, Contrary to what other people seem to believe, there's never been an issue for me in the area of wanting children, right? In the times that I did get pregnant, not pursuing or not moving forward with having a child was sometimes my choice. And then in other times it was God. But ultimately, your decision or the want or the need to have a baby, God is in control of that. Okay. Now, there are medical issues that you could have that can prevent you from having a child. But if a child is what you really and truly desire, the Bible says that God will give you the desires of your heart. Okay. That is something that God will give to you. So, if you desire to have a child, don't feel like you have to help God out in that area. People have their thoughts and their feelings about surrogacy and adoption and different things like that. I'm specifically talking about your birth canal, your womb as a woman. Whether you have children or not right now, I'm saying if you want them. If you want children, I need you to know that that is a God thing. That's not a doctor thing. That's not a hormonal thing. It's not a scientific thing. God is in control of when children come and who they come by. Do you know that maybe sometimes the reason you can't get pregnant is because of the person you're trying to get pregnant with? There are certain souls, there are certain generational things that God knows that you cannot handle that may come about as a result of having this child. You maybe are trying to have a child with someone who's abusive or can't stay faithful. And God knows and he sees that in 10 to 15 years from now, you will still be with this man and this man will maybe grow up to abuse the child that you're going to have with him. Or if he's a chronic cheater, and this is also, this is not excluding married couples. Let's say he's a chronic cheater. You're not pregnant right now because maybe God is saying this man is going to give you AIDS, and your child is going to more than likely grow up as an orphan. So I'm not going to allow you to get pregnant. I know that these are far fetched examples, and I know that I'm exaggerating in a large type of way, but I just need you to know my overarching theme and my overarching point is that there is a reason, a very distinct reason as to why you have not become pregnant yet if you have been trying. And I suggest that you go to God and ask Him what that is. Go to Him and ask Him to reveal. People say that you cannot question God, and in the Word, in the Bible, there are some mentionings of questioning God, but there's nowhere where it says you cannot ask Him to reveal the purpose of things, or you cannot ask Him for wisdom. It actually says the opposite. Those who come to God and ask for wisdom will get it. Next point, okay? Your time will come, always. This is another prime example of why jealousy, um, of why comparing yourself to the next woman's journey makes no sense. Your time will come. Rachel's time came. See, back in these days, women didn't have much of a voice at all. But not only was Rachel a woman, she was the youngest. Yeah, she was pretty, but until you got a husband back in those days, being the youngest child and being the pretty youngest daughter didn't have much weight. So there were often times where she was overlooked. Those of you who are the youngest sibling out there, you know how it goes. Overlooked, compared to her other sibling, looked down upon maybe by her father, in a lot of different ways. So your time will always come. Don't feel like you have to step on anybody for it to come. Don't feel like you have to drag other women down in order for your time to come. Your time to shine will come. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep God first. Go to God about the things that you need help with. Find you a circle, find you a tribe of women that are like minded and can uplift you and share wisdom with you. Your time for sure will come. Okay. Next point. If you stay after he makes a baby, he'll make more. Yeah, I know. That's kind of worldly, out of the streets wisdom, but it's the truth. I've never seen a man have a baby on a woman and then it just be that one baby if she stays. Now, I'm not talking about instances like you see sometimes where people like they get together, they get married, and then a long lost child from before comes about. I'm not talking about instances like that. I'm talking about when you are in a committed relationship with somebody, which back then, obviously in Rachel and Leah's time, they allowed polygamy, things like that, right? But I'm talking about now in this current day and age. You are married, you are in a committed relationship with somebody, and this person is a cheater. For whatever reason, they continue to sleep with other people behind your back, and they have a baby on you. I need you to know that when a man has a baby, that is your exit. If you stay, he will continue to have more. Rachel and Leah were sisters sharing one man, true. But Jacob continued to sleep with Leah behind or in front of Rachel's back. I'm sure Rachel must have known because they all lived around each other. But just know, okay, if you stay with a man after he has a child on you, that's a very serious thing. He will do it again. He will have another child. Know and understand that. Please know and understand that. Okay? Lastly, and I think arguably uh, one of the most important lesson that I can tell you, us ladies here who are all gathered around and listening. When a man wants you, he will work for you. Okay? Let me sit up. He will work for you if he really wants you. This will be by way of working on his self improvement. You have told him things that you don't like or that make you sad or unhappy. He will work on them. He will work physically to provide for you if he loves you. Okay? If he is maybe a person that is prone to anger, he will work on that for you. however long it takes, because Jacob worked 7 years for Leah, 14 in total. He worked seven, got Leah, worked another seven to get to Rachel. So what I'm saying is, he will work for you. You will be his motivation. If he has struggled with anger all of his life, he will meet you if he really wants to be with you, and he will work on that area. It may take some time, sure, but he will work on it. He will try to be the version of himself that it takes in order to win you. Okay. Last point, because I lied. I said that point about if a man really wants you, he will work for you. If he really loves you, he will work for you. This next point is going to always be the most important point. Leave the last point. Leave some things unavailable to a man until he becomes your husband. Okay? When you're dating, I know that, listen, I've been a baby mother, I have also been a wife. There is a difference. Do you understand me? Every woman under the sound of my voice, there is a difference. Okay? There is a difference. There's a divine difference, and you feel it. Okay? That's the best way that I can explain it. But I'm telling you to hold some things back. Even if you've been with somebody a very long time, and maybe y'all just not, wanting to be married, or for whatever reason you guys have decided that you don't want to marry, leave some things off the table. Okay? There shouldn't be 120% access to you to a man that's not your husband, even if you have children by him. Okay. And the reason why that is because men come comfortable very, very fast. I talked about this a little bit last time when I talked about Leah. Men come become comfortable very, very fast. If you are giving everything else in the dating phase, and until he's your husband, I don't care about common law, because it doesn't hold up when the person dies. Okay. When you are dating somebody, and again, you're dating up until you're married. So even if y'all been together 12 years, y'all have been dating for 12 years, and I'm not here to judge with that. You know what I mean? That's up to you. Leave some things off the table until you get married to him. Okay? Let him approach you about marriage, in terms of that should be a requirement to get certain things from you, but you shouldn't be the one to propose. Absolutely not. Please don't ever do that. um I'm not saying that marriage shouldn't be something that's talked about, but it shouldn't be something that you as the woman get down on your knees and propose. No, that's not how it goes. Okay. Make sure that you leave some things off the table. Leave some things off of the table until a man has decided to commit to you and give you his last name. Okay. Listen, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here with me. And I am so, so very, very, very grateful. This is the preseason kickoff. Season 6 is coming April the 3rd, 2023. It's an exciting season. We got some great stuff in store, and I will see you guys next time.